Hey folks, Ryan Osborne back with us, coaching and MJ. So, ketogenic diet and that so-called lifestyle approach. It's very common in so-called the fitness world. It's, I would say, up there in terms of very common questions, but certainly misconceptions, misunderstandings. I get asked, no joke, probably a couple times a week from either current clients that are with me, depending on their understanding of nutrition, or even just friends and family, just saying, okay, ketogenic diet. I've heard about it. I've had people that have seen tremendous results and whatever that kind of stuff. But there's a huge controversial piece to it, right? Because they're saying, so that means I can have all the bacon that I want. I can cook my food in bacon fat. I can eat all this pork, fat back pork, and have my scrunchions from from a Newfoundland standpoint. But yeah, just I guess break that diet down into what it is, what's the process of it, and I guess is it healthy overall, right?
Right, that's a good question. I also have a lot of clients coming in and wanting to know what it's about. So let's look at the three macros. So you have carbs, fats, protein. A ketogenic diet can either be a high protein ketogenic diet or a high fat ketogenic diet. Very different instructions in the body. So when you look at a true healthy high fat ketogenic diet, when I say healthy, it's because it's not every type of fat that goes in there. First of all, if you're going to be on a ketogenic diet, in order to be in ketosis, which is what we call it, what is ketosis is that your body is able to use ketones as your source of energy because you're going to be low in carbs. And we all know that we need carbs if we're going to go to the gym, if they're your athletes or your people who are training. But you have to be below 50 grams of net carb a day. And the best way to do that is to use a tracker. And the best tracker, in my opinion, for a ketogenic diet tracker is the chronometer, CRO chronometer. So that's the best one.
So give me an example of 50 grams of carbs, just so at least maybe we kind of have a little bit of practicality here.
Okay,
right?
well, a banana has 27.
There you go. This is
so
more.
So you're halfway through already.
There you go. No, I don't mean it like it, but I just know that, like I said, a lot of this stuff I do know, but obviously I want to kind of really know a little bit more into it and how it can kind of impact us. But yeah, so there you go. So a banana is that, and some people that may have a sandwich.
Oh no,
possibly, you're
already over. You're already over.
There you go.
So in order to understand what is a ketogenic diet, it's not just having high fat and I'm gonna keep my carbs down. You have to monitor, like the body biologically will not use ketones because there's two types of energy in the foods you eat. There's the carbs and the fat. Protein is not a source of energy. So if you look at powerlifters specifically, they eat a huge amount of protein. But what happens and that can be a ketogenic, it's a high protein ketogenic diet. Okay. They have low carb, but they're either low carb, low fat, high protein. So they have no source of energy. And what happens is the metabolism of protein creates a lot of garbage inside the body. Okay. So I'm not going to go in many details. It's the mTOR pathway, but when, let's say you have your garbage and you put it in the garage and you never open that garage door to put it on the street, if you eat a lot of protein, that garbage accumulates in the garage a lot more than if you had even a high carb diet. So the high protein diet is unhealthy health-wise. It actually increases your risk of cancer because of the mTOR pathway. Okay. But that's like to put it
high
simply.
Carb protein, is there a level? Like I know you hear so many recommendations. I hear like in terms of 1.4 to 1.6 grams per pound per day. Like of course I see it in the fitness world. Everybody wants to throw out so-called recommendation, or it's your body weight times X number to kind of get your protein a gram. But when I guess just to be a little bit. When you say high protein diet, is there a grammage? Is there,
There is. What we look at is your lean body mass, not your overall weight. So we say, it depends on the diet you're on, but let's say you're on a ketogenic diet. When you're on a high fat ketogenic diet, your branched chain amino acids, so those are the 3 amino acids that 45% of the muscle uses. Okay. They actually increases. They're more bioavailable to the muscle. So the number one, how you calculate it is if you're 0.8 and you're very, very, let's say you're a power lifter, 1.2, sufficient. Yes. Per 1.2 grams per kilogram of lean body weight.
Yes, exactly.
So that's it. But they probably eat 300 grams a day, which is probably 200 grams too much. So the rest, so what happens is it increases insulin. So people think that protein doesn't increase insulin. Absolutely does. So insulin is an inflammatory marker.
Yeah.
And what it does basically is you got to look at your cells that are bathing in this liquid, and if your inflammatory markers are high, that liquid is thicker, and they're not able to access the nutrients. So the cells, the energy that that's supposed to use, or how it functions, it doesn't function optimally.
Okay.
So that's kind of a way to look at it.
Yeah.
So a high-fat ketogenic diet is not every type of fat. It's not your vegetable oils.
Okay.
So anything, even like people think that canola oil is healthy. Not the canola oil that you have at the supermarket that takes like, this amount of aisle space.
Yeah, exactly.
If you go to a health food store and it's a raw canola, yes, fine, but that wouldn't be my first choice.
Okay.
Coconut oil to cook with, because coconut oil and it's got to be hard at room temperature. It's a saturated fat, but it's easily digested. Another point too that people don't realize, and that's why when you melt coconut oil, it's very slippery and it's very clear.
Yeah.
It only has about 6.2 calories per gram. Every other fat is 9. But not coconut oil. But it's highly bioavailable for the brain, for the muscles to use as a form of ketone.
And unrefined, of course.
And unrefined, right. MCT oil is another very good oil to use. Extra virgin olive oil. So if you're cooking, and butter, organic butter.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yes, pork is good, but if it's organic pork from an organic source. So you can have bacon, but again, you have to count your grams of protein.
Yeah.
So if you stay within your protein, I always say those who, like my cancer clients, we tend to go to a ketogenic diet because there's less inflammatory markers. And that's the whole point about the ketogenic diet.
Okay.
I do want to add one point, because I had seen it in a post where someone was saying, it's very unhealthy because you can get ketoacidosis, and that's actually a process that happens in type 1 diabetic.
Okay.
So that's because they don't control insulin. They can't produce insulin, and their body starts creeping up in glucose, and the ketones go up. So when you have high ketones and high glucose at the same time, that's when you get in ketoacidosis, and you fall, you can be in a coma.
Absolutely.
So it's dangerous. You are so far from producing that amount of ketones in the body when you do a nutritional ketosis.
Okay.
It wouldn't even happen. In order, like I have people, like brain cancers, we recommend about 20 grams or less, net grams. Net is remove the fiber. So if you're eating a lot of fibrous vegetables, you remove that part. So the net and the chronometer, that's when it comes in play.
Okay.
So you have that 12 grams, and they're going to be, their ketones might hit 6 or 7, but the ketoacidosis, you're at 25.
Wow. And
in order to be 6 to 7, you have to be super strict in eating 12 net grams a day for about 3 weeks before you get keto adapted.
I was going to say, the other thing too is, and that's great points there, like the whole energy, what I've heard of people too, right? Once they reach, I guess, ketosis, is that they feel, whether it's, what it's subjective, placebo, but they feel like their
100%.
energy.
It's not placebo effect. I'll tell you a perfect example. Ultra marathoners, they use a ketogenic diet because they run a marathon a day. The only way your body can actually have energy to run a marathon a day, because if you run a marathon and you go with glycogen or your glucose stores, your glycogen stores, the next day you can't walk because you're depleted. And you can't replete in one day. But when you're keto adapted, you have, depending on your body fat, you have 40,000 calories available to you. You never hit the wall.
The larger gas tank versus a small. Just you have so much that you can call upon.
You never hit the wall.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then from really, I guess, kind of the last point is again, as we know, as people age, your strength declines. In relation, obviously, to your muscle mass, as you basically decline at the age of really 30. Certainly, they say approximately 10% of your muscle mass decreases, but per decade. But no question that I guess having or possibly following that approach, adequate protein, regardless if it's high protein or not. But just there's no question that an approach, a healthier approach, such as like a ketogenic diet, in conjunction with structured resistance training, is
you
proof.
need resistance
Yeah,
training.
no question you do, right?
Yes.
And I just think number one, to even then fuel your workouts, and obviously to get the most out of that resistance training, that you have those adequate macronutrients, right?
Absolutely.
Need, right?
And just to mention, like, resistance training is yoga.
Yeah.
I mean, people might think, oh, I don't want to go to the gym. I mean, when you get like, I have a lot of clients coming in and they're in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to go to the gym. It's like, no, just go on YouTube and follow a yoga, or you have a trainer coming in and showing you his postures.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's super easy.
Body weight, it doesn't matter.
Right.
But as long as, again, you are at least contracting, providing, supplying progressive load ideally, where you're kind of looking to kind of enhance your muscle strength, because that's just it. You look at functioning, you look at balance and all those things that no question you're going to need as you get older. That resistance training is, at least, and I'll say all forms, because you just think of people that just go calorie restrictive or just all cardio. You're not challenging your muscular system at all.
And the key, when you get over 50, because of the hormonal change, there's two things that will decrease if you are not proactive: your bone density and your muscle mass. And then you become, feeble. You can't, you're all...
Absolutely.
And that's what we're trying to avoid, and you can avoid it.
Yeah.
It can be avoided. Yeah. So you have to have resistance training. That actually stimulates your bone density, your bone regeneration, and keeping your muscle mass will avoid you, having to have a cane when you get 70 years old.
Absolutely.
So those are key, and it's all preventative, and it starts, and it is never...
It's never too late. That's always a point that I just absolutely, in almost anything really in life, but from a training or exercise movement perspective,
nutrition point of view, never too late.
Absolutely never too late, right? Always think preventative and not I guess reactive,
Exactly. And if you are in a reactive situation, there's still a lot we can do.
Yeah.
The body will heal if it gets what it needs to repair, and if we remove what's irritating. So I look in my practice, I look at what is there too much and what is there not enough, basically.
Yeah.
I look at your symptoms and I say, okay, you have too much of this and you don't have enough of this, and then it's unique for everybody.
And that's and say what I look at is, especially if someone has some sort of muscle imbalance, dysfunction, posture issues, maybe some discomfort, whatnot, is maybe it's an issue somewhere, back or shoulder, but at least, what are the big causes of it? How do you carry yourself on a day-to-day basis with your postures? What are the movements that you do regularly that is obviously contributing it? But obviously, again, it's kind of, it's more of an holistic approach anyways,
Absolutely.
Right? Always from an
Great
individual
pair.
side. Anywho, hopefully you learned, again, always these kind of take-homes. So that app, just so that people kind of know, is Chronometer.
Chronometer.com. It's Mercola. Actually, it's Dr. Mercola. It's on his site, but it's very well done. I mean, you don't have to calculate anything. It does everything
for you. There you go. Yeah. All right, guys. That's it for now. Again, appreciate MJ and all of her passion and knowledge. It's been wonderful. Great pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. Okay. See you. Till next time, guys.